Microphone check. I had such a good time telling or recounting these stories that I wanted to take this moment to share some more stories, or rather, to do it all again because 10-9 means repeat. So we're doing this all again. What I want to impress upon you, the viewer, is that this collection of stories is basically just that, just a collection of moments that stand out, or rather that stood out for me during my travels. I didn't plan to create a list. I had no idea that I would have a list of moments that were impressionable moments, those moments that stuck with me. Um, and it's just a coincidence, the idea that my birthday is 10-9. That's the first level of coincidence. Like, okay, my birthday is 10-9. So just for me to see 10-9, those numbers resonate with me because of that fact. But as I travel the globe, the recurrence of events and moments when I would see these numbers, as I did in Japan, especially around my birthday, it was those circumstances are just bizarre. Like, there I was in Japan, and it was the week before my birthday, so I was celebrating my birthday by traveling to Japan. And then while I'm in Japan, I'm ushered to the seat number 10. And I look up, not only do I see the number 10 written in Japanese, but I also see the number 9 to it. So I see 10 and 9 in Japanese. And for me, it was a moment of pause. It was a moment for me to say, wow, that's my birthday right there. Oh, that's pretty cool. But I'm not fixating on my birthday because that's just the first level. It's just, all right, so I thought about it. That's my birthday. That's cool. And I think the reason why I feel comfortable able to just talk about these numbers the way that I do is because I've talked with other people and they've shared with me, oh yeah, that's happened to me before too. Yeah, that happens to me too. I know what you're talking about. Some people have shown me their cell phones. They have a collection of moments where they saw their particular numbers. And same thing with me. So I've tapped into something. I've realized, oh, what I've been experiencing is not something unique, special, to me, but it's something that that bonds us. Something, or rather, it's something that can possibly bring us together because we don't talk about this. So I'm like broaching the subject. I'm talking about it. So, but for me, the first time, well, maybe not the first time. I don't want to jump around too much. Let's go back to Japan. So it was in that moment where I was seated at seat 10, and it was my birthday weekend. So I was already thinking about my birthday, which is on October 9th. So those numbers 10 and 9 really stood out to me because it was my birthday. It probably stood out more because I was alone. And yeah, if I had friends around me, I probably would have been distracted. They would have been joking with me, teasing me, and I would have been teasing with them, I suppose, and my mind would have been on other things. But in that moment, I was alone. And the way I interpret being alone is a very like Zen-like experience, you know? And so although I was at that restaurant all alone, it was like my focus was razor sharp. And so I noticed that detail. There was nothing else for me to focus on. I didn't have any other distractions. And then in the same weekend that I remember being ushered to that seat, 10-9, or the seat number 10, when I was leaving Japan on that same weekend, my ferry boat number on my ticket, I noticed it was 10-9, 10 and 9. And that was another moment, another peculiar moment that made me say, whoa, look at that. That's interesting. At least I thought it was interesting. I still do. So coupled together, that made for a very interesting birthday celebration weekend. I mean, I was already celebrating 10-9, and then to have to see these numbers, these other iterations of these numbers, that was just, it was peculiar, but it was cool, very cool. But then it started to get a little strange because at the time that this occurred, this was 2015. I was still living in South Korea. I was an English teacher in South Korea, and I was leaving Japan to go back to South Korea on the same weekend when I boarded the train and my seat assignment was in row 10. And it was just like, are you kidding me? So now, by the time I was in South Korea and I was getting on that train, I was saying to myself, did the ticket attendant, did she know that my birthday is October 9th? And did she use my birthday to decide which row to assign a seat for me? Like, I asked myself those questions. I was like, how did this happen? Because this is just, it's bizarre. It's happening again. It's like 3 times, during my birthday weekend. So that was just incredibly bizarre. That was Japan. Before I leave, the subject of Japan, why, you know what? I can't even leave Japan without talking about Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I'll try to wrap it up quickly, but first, Tokyo. So another coincidence related to Japan is that when I went to Japan for the first time in 2000 and okay, wait a minute. The first time I went to Japan was in 2009. The story I'm about to tell you occurred in 2013. The first time I went to Tokyo. Okay. So I was in Tokyo. I already knew that Shibuya Ichimaru-kyu exists. Ichimaru-kyu means 109. It's a shopping mall in Shibuya. It's a girls' fashion mall. So, as a man, I had no business being there, but I learned about the Black for Life store and I wanted to visit that store. So, I went there. I bought my niece a t-shirt. So, I made a trip of, I made a field trip out of it, you know, even though I had no business being there. Um, but the store owner, she was like a star to me because they see these Japanese women who work at this store, this Black for Life store. It doesn't exist anymore, but they embrace like black culture. Whatever they envision and perceive the black culture, they embraced it. And that was so heartwarming for me and so cool because I was in Korea and Korean culture versus Japanese culture, especially toward, blacks or even darker people from Asia, just people of color, like darker people, like Koreans can discriminate, you know. Japanese can discriminate as well. I've heard stories. However, living in Korea, Koreans rub me the wrong way oftentimes, and I just needed an escape. So I would often go to Japan, and the escape was it was necessary, but it was also refreshing because I didn't get the same sort of vibes I got in Korea. One example, when I arrived back in Korea, within like 10 minutes of my arrival, I was walking down the street and this guy looked at me and he was like, ah, so to speak, like, your face, black, That's how I interpreted it. I didn't get anybody's reaction like that when I was in Japan. Not near one time I was in Japan did I get anything like that. But in Korea, as soon as I got back to Korea with the let's go within an hour. Within an hour's time, I was in the city of Busan and this guy walking down the street. He probably was crazy. Whatever. No, the craziness can't excuse that because he saw me, he targeted me, he looked at me, he was just like, ah. Okay. So just like little things like that in Korea just irked me. They just annoyed me. And when I got to Japan, nothing like that ever happened. So I was just like, I love Japan. I love Japan. So to learn that some Japanese women embrace black culture, I was like, yo, that's awesome. So I wanted to go see their shop. I wanted to patronize their shop, see what's up, right? Which I did. And coincidentally, the shop is located in was located in Shibuya Ichimaru-kyu. So, um, what happened thereafter? I kept seeing while I was in Tokyo, I kept seeing Tokyo signs. It's for their railway, Tokyo. I didn't know what that meant. Years later, I learned that means 10-9. So I was just like in the navel, like the belly button, the navel of Ichimaru-kyu, 10-9 in Japan. It was all around me. That was the perfect place for me to be. Speaking of the perfect place to be, I remember when I was going to Korea, I had a friend tell me, "Why are you going to Korea? You should be going to Japan. Don't you know Japan is the black man's heaven?" Speaking of heaven, 10, 10 means heaven in Japanese. I kid you not. 10 means heaven. Okay. So, yeah, so I'm just telling you about 10-9. Okay, so Japan, all of these stories about Japan. Now, here's the thing about Nagasaki and Hiroshima related to 10-9. Crazy coincidence. Unbelievable. Okay. You're familiar with Nagasaki and Hiroshima, right? Those are the two cities that were bombed by us, the United States. Okay. And sad events though they may be, let's look at the details. Okay. There were if there were hundreds, if not thousands, of scientists who worked on the project, on the Manhattan Project, which resulted in the creation of the hydrogen and atomic bombs. Big boy, fat man, little boy, something like this. Okay, don't quote me on it. I'm not a historian. I try my best at history and stuff, but I'm not a historian. Curiously enough, the many of the scientists on the Manhattan Project were African Americans, proud African American scientists, sort of like the Hidden Figures movie. You know that movie Hidden Figures starring Taraji P. Henson, um, Octavia Spencer, I think, is in that movie as well. Um, Hidden Figures, right? So the same situation with the Manhattan Project, there were African American scientists on that project as well. I just had to mention that. Just had to mention that. But although they worked on the project, they could not divulge that they were working on the project. It was top secret. It was, clandestine. So here's the situation. In San Antonio, New Mexico, the scientists who worked on the project all flew to San Antonio and they met at one location. That location's address is 109 East Palace Road Boulevard. I don't know. East Palace Road, I think it is. 109 East Palace. True story. It's a detail. It's a fact. All of the scientists who worked on the Manhattan Project, well, they had to go to that address. They had to walk through the door with 109 on it. And then they were greeted by a hostess, a receptionist, and she organized their affairs, and then sent them from that location to a clandestine dorms and a site where the whole project was being worked on. It's a fascinating tidbit. So all of the scientists, everyone who worked on that project, had to pass through that door 109. And that project led to the creation of the hydrogen bomb and the atomic bomb that resulted in the bombings of Nagasaki and Hiroshima, two cities in Japan that I have been to, that I visited. See how all of that is related to 10-9 or 109? Crazy, right? Unbelievable. Those are details that, of course, I didn't know, but it's even strange that I can even tell you that, because I have a friend, a former colleague, older gentleman, and his wife, Stephen and Martha. Peace be unto both of you all. Yeah, no, you guys are traveling the globe, doing your beautiful, living your beautiful lives and such. Um, They were traveling through New Mexico and we're connected on Facebook. So they uploaded photos of their trip, their travels, and I saw that and I said, oh my gosh, I see 109. I see 109 on that door. And I thought, well, what the heck did you take that picture for? It couldn't be to, appease me. 109 isn't that important in their lives. It's not important to anyone's life, really. But it was a detail that caught my eye. And then they said, oh, well, Larry, 109, this door and this address was integral in the Manhattan Project. And then they went and told me more. And I was just like, are you serious? And when I learned about it, I was just amazed that I had actually been to Nagasaki and Hiroshima, the two cities that those bombs were dropped on. So it was a full circle moment, really. It was just like, oh my gosh, 109 is linked to the atomic bomb. Wow, that's amazing. And then that's 109 is linked to Japan and my experiences in Japan. So it was just like, wow, 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 wow. Ooh, or are you kidding me? What? No way. Whoa, okay. I think I've exhausted all of the stories about Japan, so I think I can take a break now. Um, I did not intend to talk about Japan, but it is what it is. Such is as it has become. Peace and blessings from iSee109.